Hello and welcome to Badass Moms, brought to you by the
Hey,
Holistic
Mom.
Therapies Directory.
I got a question.
And you can't get more real than that. What's your question, buddy?
What are you recording for?
For a podcast, what should you be doing? Okay. Hello again and welcome to Badass Moms, brought to you by the Holistic Therapies Directory. I'm Nicole Cruz, super busy mommy coach. Before I introduce you to our guest, I want to let you know that I have a challenge coming up. It's a 30-day program. It was created specifically for single moms and all of the challenges they face, though it is open to any mom in a tough situation. And we go through how to stay fit, and not just fluffy fitness, better than nothing. I mean, how to actually progress and reach high levels of fitness, how to eat right for your body, given the constraints that you have, and also how to deal with the mental side of it, how to prevent burnout, how to manage stress, because let's face it, we all know to take deep breaths right now. So we have to do better than that, how to maximize every second of sleep you can actually get, because we know sleeping more isn't always an option. So really created for the challenges that single moms and moms in difficult situations face, specifically to help everyone get through the current crisis. But it comes from all of the strategies I've been teaching my clients for years, because I specialize in working with moms in the toughest situations who are going through crises to reach those levels of fitness and health. So anyway, if you're interested in checking that out, go to superbusymommycoach.com and click on the programs tab. And you can also follow me as Super Busy Mommy Coach on Facebook and Instagram. Shoot me a message and I'll give you all the details and can get you signed up. I also have 2 spots available in my one-on-one coaching. So those, message me on Facebook or Instagram to apply and see if it's the right fit. Anyways, let's jump in. I am so happy today to welcome Stephanie Shaw, who helps divorced executive women find their superpowers. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Nicole. I'm excited about tonight's recording. Yeah.
I'm excited too. So first off, I mean, to help divorced executive women find their superpowers.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
All right. Yeah, I will. So I actually started working with divorced women. I fell into that niche uh, just because the clients that start coming to me, I'm like, oh wait, this has become a thing. And then the more I look and the more that I reach out to folks, I'm finding a lot of people in the situation where, like you, they have so much going on that they need some easy, manageable ways to make sure that they stay healthy. So that's how I fell into that niche. And what I do with them is a couple of things. We actually work, or I work to peel back the layers of what's going on in their body down to the DNA. So we take a hair analysis, we do a hormone assessment, and then based on that information, I built a custom plan for them. So I teach them about cycle charting. I teach them different ways to pull back some of the toxins and inflammatory foods that may be in their body. And then we do meal planning, meal prep, and then I act as an accountability partner, of course. That I think becomes huge when you have someone you can lean on, depend on, that you know they're there, you know that they're there to make sure that you're getting the best out of life. So that's another way that interact with folks. So it's so rewarding, so rewarding.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love it. And I love that you mentioned, dealing with all the obstacles, because I know that you go beyond the cliche advice that's out there to
Mhm.
really give your clients high leverage steps to take, because let's face it, all of us know vegetables are good, you know. Fried chicken with, cake and ice cream is bad, like, talking in broad strokes here, but generally, right? um and so I think a lot of times you see those programs where people can throw down like hundreds of dollars and it's pretty much another iteration of vegetables are good, fried foods are bad. And you're like, okay, like, okay, great. I'm glad I just gave you a few $100s for what I could have found in a Google search.
Right,
like,
exactly.
but so I find so many people are jaded, like they come, I'm sure you have those same conversations. People come to you and they're just jaded and they're like, how do I know this is actually going to work? Or what can you actually give me that's different? And so you want to dive into that a little bit. Like, what are some of, like, maybe you have some examples. What are some of those high leverage action steps that can really get someone to those incredibly high levels of health and vibrancy when you have all of the strains of being a divorced executive?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll back up a little bit and I'll tell my story. So how I came up with the protocol, where I came from, and give a little bit of information, and that'll help kind of bridge into what you asked, and let people understand why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing it. So I spent March 23rd, 2017, walking down the street in New York, and I felt like I was having, I didn't know if I was having a stroke or heart attack, numbness of jaw, rapid heartbeat. And that began a process of 2 years where I was ill, completely ill. I went to 18 different doctors, Western and Eastern medicine. I had EKGs, MRIs. I was tested for lupus, for Addison's disease, even new diseases that they've made up called POTS. I was tested for all of that too. So all of what was going on in my body was a strong hormone imbalance, and not one doctor talked to me about that at all. So once I discovered what was going on, I went back, got 2 certifications, and then that's when this protocol came about. So when I work with clients, I know for a fact. So if you were my coach and you said, Stephanie, eat your greens and don't eat fried chicken kind of thing, I'd be like, I already know that, and I'm a vegetarian, so I'm not going to do it anyway. But if you also said to me, Stephanie, make sure that you're eating, tons of tropical fruit and avocados and cabbage and kimchi, then for me, that wouldn't work for me. Even though they're good things, my particular body does not handle those things well. So that's how this is different. By doing the DNA analysis, the hair analysis that we do, and then the written hormone assessment, that gets me a couple of steps closer to coming up with custom plans specifically for your body. If you're in overdrive, if you're stressed, if you have any intolerances. So that comes up with the initial plan. And then we spend 4 weeks together doing a deeper dive where we cut out the gluten, the dairy, all the fun stuff, the dairy, the sugar, all the processed foods, and then slowly start to implement those back in. And what you've noticed is, so I had a client, actually, I was talking to her yesterday. She's like, I did your process. And she's like, now I know why every time I eat salsa, I get really sick. She said, I didn't make that relationship, but I ate the salsa, got sick. Then I had another tomato product and I got sick. And I never was able to make that connection of what was going on in my body or why I would periodically not feel well. So I help people do that. I say that their superpower becomes being their own detective, knowing exactly what's going on in their body. And you can't figure that out until you start to strip things away and then slowly add things back in.
Mm-hmm. Good
Yeah,
old elimination diet.
yeah, exactly,
Pain in
exactly.
the butt,
It
but once you actually muster the willpower and determination to do it, it's life changing for most people who try it. Like, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who didn't come away from even like a partial elimination diet with some sort of epiphany.
Yeah, yeah, and during that, it's difficult to do. So either like I was so sick, like almost bedridden sick, that I'm like, I will do anything. I won't eat again if that's what's gonna, have these migraines and everything go away. But it's when you're functioning and then someone has you eliminate, it's hard. So what we also work on the mindset as well. So what are the things that are blocking you from taking this step that's such a short period of time that can help you live a long life, much more healthy? No more crash diets, no more fat diets, not thinking about what's the newest thing that's going on. You know that you can go anywhere you want, eat pretty much whatever you want, actually eat what you want, but know when to control it. So you still have the cake at the birthday party, but not bring the rest of the cake home and eat it at midnight kind of thing. So working on the mindset to get folks ready for the elimination diet and to make this lifelong is a strong part of the work that I do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And, I think, one of the mindset issues that comes about is, well, I don't want to try that because then if I find out I'm sensitive to dairy, I can never have dairy again. And I'm like, okay, right now you might be sensitive to dairy and you're having dairy again and you're still alive. So the only difference would be that you can see the different effects and then you can decide to what extent you want to act on them. Like, I'm not like forcing you. There's no decree. Like, from now that you've done an elimination diet, every time you eat dairy, you're going to be struck by lightning. And it's so funny because the same conversation, just like the same thing came up. I was recording with Dalma Vasquez yesterday, who's fantastic. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's like a superstar. And it was just like those obstacles, those internal obstacles where people just don't want to try it.
Yeah. And it's that block. And once you get that block, and like you said, you don't have to give up things forever. But for example, I know what dairy does to my body. But every once in a while, if I have something dairy, every once in a while, a small amount, it doesn't bother me. But if I eat a large quantity, it will. So I actually have a rhythm with supplements. I don't recommend anyone do that, but I know what I need to do if I'm going to do that. So maybe that's once every 6 months though, versus having, doing it every single night. And things like dairy and sugar and gluten, while everyone's not intolerant to it, while everyone doesn't need to stop eating it, in excess, it can cause inflammation in your body. And as you already know, inflammation leads to different types of disease, cancer, heart disease, diabetes. We talked about that before, about all these small triggers, or limiting what you're putting in your body, if not completely limiting, it can help save you long term.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, inflammation, it's like, how can it cause everything? And it's like, no, it's more so this, degrading, dangerous state in your body, and whatever's your genetic weak link, or whatever has become the weak link because of what you've done to your body all those years, is going to fall first. And for some people, it's going to be diabetes. For some people, it'll be heart disease. For me, with inflammation, it's my lungs. When I was a child, I mean, the doctor, I had to be fed soy formula because I couldn't tolerate dairy. And then when I was about 2 years old, the doctor instructed my mother to start getting me used to dairy by watering it down and then building up. Okay. Throughout my entire childhood into early adulthood, I had more severe when I was younger, but severe asthma and allergies. And then you have the asthma, and because people are scared you're gonna have an asthma attack. No, don't, take it easy, don't run too much. Don't do too much of that, And it's like complete opposite of what I needed to do for my body.
Right.
And like, and so for me, when I cheat, like, just recently, Eric and I went on a road trip for the holidays, and it was in mostly rural areas. Like, and so where are we eating? Applebee's, Friendly's, like whatever, just, and like, the first place I feel it when I have a more inflammatory lifestyle is in my lungs. Other people, it'll be their heart. Other people, or the whole cardiovascular system, to be more precise. Other people, it'll be diabetes. Other people, it'll be something else. But, the mental aspect of it. But, like, yes, inflammation.
But see, you recognize that. So I know mine is gut. I know that, things will start going on and rumbling down there that you don't want to happen. But it's because we've learned what we needed to do with our bodies. We've learned what triggers it. And then we have to mentally say, okay, are we willing to tolerate it for this short period of time? But a lot of people have diabetes or heart disease and say, oh, it's hereditary. And type 2 diabetes, it's just hereditary and I just have to live with it. You do not have to live with type 2 diabetes. I am completely my stepdad has type 2 diabetes. My entire life he's been on medicine. We finally convinced him for like a 4 or 5 month span of time to stop eating meat and dairy. And his doctors were like weirded out. They're like, what are you doing? What's going on? Like, he was coming off his medicine. Now he started back and all his medicine went back up. So that very clearly tells you, 30 plus years being on this medicine, you can slowly start to come out just by changing the way you eat. So food is wonderful. I love food, but the wrong type of food and in excess can really harm your body.
Absolutely. And I think, that's another mental obstacle because
Yeah.
food is a pleasure. And, I grew up in an Italian, Puerto Rican household. Like, food is love,
Yeah.
food is how you deal with grief. Like, you're happy, you eat, you're sad, you eat, you're with people, you eat, you're alone. Well, that's kind of depressing. So you eat. Like, and it's just like, that's, and how many of us, like, just American culture in general, to appease a baby, what did our parents do? They gave us a snack, some
Yeah.
food or some sweets. Oh, you did good in school. Let's go out for ice cream. And so that psychological part is really hard to get over. And I'm not going to pretend I'm completely over it. Right? Like, that's still like, I'll crave comfort foods. Sometimes I'll give in and like do some emotional eating. But at the same time, I think that a lot of times there's this idea that how hard it is at the beginning is going to be how hard it is forever, when actually your tastes and your cravings change over time, and there are specific things you can do to help that process along. Especially biological cravings are super easy. Like, like those, you test a couple things, and once you figure it out, it's just like, there you go, you're done. The psychological cravings, those can take like eating at the certain time every day, those can take a few days, but your body just kind of adjusts, like, all right, I'm not going to release that hormone at that time. It's
Right.
those emotional ones, man.
It's
Emotional ones.
hard.
But even those, there are things you can do to help, even if they don't totally go away. But like, so imagine that you get rid of the biological cravings, you get rid of the, psychological cravings, which in this case, I usually just talk about those as like the, oh, I smell food and so I want to eat. I see a billboard of a burger, so I want to eat. I eat at this time every day, like those cues. And then you're just left with the emotional cravings, which you can also reduce.
Yes. There is a switch. There's a switch with as you were saying, the biological cravings, the way that and I think you mentioned that, the way that your palate receives the food now. So
Mm-hmm.
like I would put like 3 tablespoons in a glass of lemonade or a glass of tea, and now I don't put anything in tea. I can make lemon water, which is my fake version of lemonade, and not need anything in it. And I can now taste the lemon. I can now taste the lavender or the chamomile in the tea. Your entire palate begins to change, and you start to enjoy food at a different level because you can actually taste it. It's not being, your tongue isn't coated with all of the sugar and the dairy and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. And even just a tongue scraper can help. Like, that was one of the things where, I was like, come on, like, is that really going to be noticeable? Will I actually feel some sort of difference? And I mean, it took probably like a month or two, but I definitely started to taste food differently when I started using a tongue scraper every day.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't done that in a long time, but I think someone did tell me about that when I first like started this journey. So yeah, I haven't done that one in a long time, but it
And
did. It makes a difference.
yeah, and they're like a couple
That
bucks at a
tone.
drugstore.
Mhm.
It's just, brush your teeth and like
Yeah,
like a
yep.
couple times, and there it takes literally like 5 seconds.
Yeah,
And those, there are tricks,
yes.
and it feels, so it's like, it can be so intimidating, and I get it, and like, I still have my own internal obstacles with certain things, but it's not like, to get to high levels of health and vibrancy, it's not going to feel like people imagine in their heads a lot of time,
Right. I know. I agree with that. I agree with that. Yep.
I mean, more more than most with the women you work with. And I mean, that's one thing we share. We work with people in tough, tough situations.
Yeah. And with limited time for themselves.
Mhm.
And again, in very stressful situations too. So that's why I think it's so important that we've talked a couple of times, and I remember one of our conversations was around like, I mentioned journaling. You're like, how are you having people journal? They don't have time for that. And I'm like, I know, right? I'm like, no, you need to journal. But what we've done is come up with any act that I ask someone to do that's going to help them ultimately, I break it up in super, super minute chunks. So for journaling, it's you start off one word. You can write it down, you can say it in your head, whatever you need. And once you start to like consistently do that, you yourself, I don't even have to tell people, they will just start, oh, I was like a sentence, a paragraph. Oh, I discovered XYZ about myself now because I started journaling. I'm like, you started journaling. So it's just like building those skills, even from something that takes a few seconds to even 5 minutes a day. Those are all things that can actually make changes with the way that you think, and then you act and you start to react for your body.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And and there are different formats. Sometimes there can be a benefit to the paper and pencil long form way of journaling. And even if that's what somebody is striving for, you can start with something else. You can start with a vlog. You can
Yeah.
start, you know what I mean? Like, start where you can, and it just kind of goes there. But I mean, what you said about the self-discovery is absolutely true. And training your brain, like, we're very accustomed to the idea that when you repeat certain movement patterns, your body changes. And
Yeah.
I feel like people abstractly understand that if you repeat mental habits, your mind changes. But for some reason, it just feels like those things that actually make a big difference are too simple to be that effective. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. But they are. They're so
I know.
yeah, just saying I am great versus I suck. like, if you're over and over, because I was having a conversation with someone and we were talking about people whose children grow up to be quote unquote bad, or they get on drugs or whatever, and then the parent says, I told you Johnny was going to end up on drugs and be just like your dad or just like your uncle. I told you Johnny wasn't going to. Well, that's why Johnny was like that, because every day, his entire life, you said, Johnny, you are going to be bad. Johnny, you are going to. So that message carries forth. So I clearly understood that when my kids were younger, because I brainwashed all three of my kids into, well, except for the last one, because he's a little strong-willed, into the careers that I wanted them to have. So like my oldest son was always good in math and art. I'm like, you will be an architect. I put him in front of our friends that were architects, in front of nature, so forth. So he ended up he's a landscape architect. Middle son, you are, should be public relations. You're good at design. He's a designer now. So the youngest is 10 years apart, and he knew my tricks. So I was like, attorney, because he could debate me down at like 5 years old. I'm like, oh, maybe you are right. So tried to talk him into being an attorney, but he's in real estate. I'm like, technically, you have to know the law, so I still won. So just that versus, like we were saying, those small things, the conversations that you have with yourself, I am enough versus I am not enough. If you say that enough to yourself, that's exactly what you can become. And that's what I try to teach folks, to start small, start positive with some small mantras about what yourself and how great you are. So if you're divorced and you're raising children on your own, you alone now have superpowers. You're like, that's a very, very, very difficult job. So saying that to yourself and recognizing and respecting the fact that you are doing something great, it helps. It helps you in the long run with what's going
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
absolutely. And you literally, remake your neural pathways, because it's, you're bombarded constantly with just an uncountable amount of stimuli.
Yeah.
And your
Yeah.
brain has the job of filtering out which ones to bring to your conscious awareness. And how does it do that? Based on what it decides is most relevant, based on how strong certain connections are, based on how strong or how often things have been repeated for you, what was the intensity of the emotional experience associated with that event. And so if you keep repeating something, it like trains your brain to activate that pathway sooner and activate it more quickly and activate it more often when other stuff comes up. And so it's just like, you know, for some people, like, if you don't believe what the affirmation is, that's start with something you can, it's just
Yeah.
like, if you don't believe I am great, think of something you do believe, like I am no worse than anybody else.
Right. Right.
And start there, and eventually you can move on. Affirmations are probably one of the techniques that I struggle with the most, but I still know which way they work for me, and I still know sometimes I've been slacking, gotta put them on my bathroom mirror again.
I know, right?
Did you have the whiteboard markers on the mirror?
No, I have stickies, little stickies with I'll have scriptures or affirmations or quotes on there. And especially the time when I was sick, for the 2 years, I had them all around my mirror and I would say them all the time. Hey, Erin.
Hey, buddy. How's your work coming?
Bad.
Bad. I'm sure you're doing a great job.
How many sentences did you write?
Can't.
Oh, you did one sentence. That's awesome. Okay, go write one more.
Okay.
All right. All right.
All right. So you're right that keeping those affirmations, and so I call my protocol the mind body business, because you have to work on all of that mindset stuff before you can work on your body to make your business, whether your business be managing your home or managing outside of the home, better. What we found is that my clients have gotten off. One lady has done a step down on the anxiety medicine that she's on. So just by changing mindset, changing her nutrition, she's coming off of that anxiety medicine, which to me is huge, because she came in to lose weight, but all these other positive things are happening. Confidence is being raised. She's having those bold conversations at work. Another lady just told me about how she's visibly seeing the inflammation and the weight go off of her body, and it's just after doing portions of the protocol. So she's just 2 weeks in. So it's a really, really rewarding to be able to have those types of conversations with people and know that they're getting to that next level with the help and support that they need and deserve.
Yeah, I mean, it's so powerful. Like you said, your program is so strong that you can just do a small part of it and your life changes. And that's really what a quality program should be, unfortunately, I know there's a lot of clickbait out there. And then there are people who are the real deal, like you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Of course.
And you as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, super busy mommy coach in action right here.
Exactly.
Finish your second sentence.
No, because my brain is glitching so hard that it's breaking.
I think you have to go beat up your procrastination monster.
Yeah, but my brain's breaking.
Go beat up your procrastination monster. Don't let your monkey brain win.
Huh?
Go beat up your procrastination monster. Don't let your monkey brain win.
What is my monkey?
Your monkey brain is dancing in the corner right now because the procrastination monster's beating you.
Then what is the procrastination monster like?
He's like, yeah, I won.
No.
All right, time for me to get back to my meeting. I can't procrastinate. Write your sentence. Prove it.
I encouraged him. We had a real heartfelt conversation before we got started. So he's probably like, is that still Miss Stephanie on there?
Yeah, he loves, it's my business partner. He likes to be involved. But he has to do his homework too.
What is my higher self brain like? What is it like?
What are you supposed to be doing?
What is it like?
What are you supposed to be doing?
My work, but what is it like? What is it like?
Yeah, so I know you also have a unique approach to adjusting your regimen based on your cycle.
Yeah. So that's cool as well. So we look at part of the work that I do is have folks look at the 4 different phases of their cycle. And they do the charting, and then based on the charting, I help them come up with a plan that they can use for those different times of their cycle. So based on what phase you're in, so let's say if you're in the follicular cycle, where the estrogen increases, that during that time, I make sure that they're getting more iron, more B12, more C. That's also the time where they're super focused and they have a high level of energy. So I'm like, okay, if you're scheduling or blocking out your calendar, this is the time where you're going to have all that energy. You need to be brainstorming and doing lectures and presentations. If you have that flexibility, schedule it out this week. And I also talk to them about how to exercise based on the phase. So if they're in the follicular cycle, their exercise should be lower impact. A lot of women will say, I'm eating low calorie and I'm exercising really hard, but I'm still not losing the weight. Well, what my clients walk away, it's more than likely they're going to be eating more food because I want to make sure that their metabolism stays steady and they're eating all throughout the day. And they're also going to potentially exercise less than they normally did, because high impact exercise every single day or 4 or 5 days a week does not work for everyone's body, and it may work differently during different phases of their cycle. So we work on all of that as well.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you are working with executive women who have that type of freedom and autonomy. And so you help them to maximize the, I guess the nature of their job to fit their health, to fit their lifestyle, but also then to maximize their job.
Exactly. So I have one lady who has decided that based on her cycle, she's that week, she is going to work from home at least 2 to 3 days, because she knows that week is usually that, I don't want to be here, all these people are getting on my nerves kind of thing. So working from home, she's found that it just makes it a lot easier. She can be more relaxed. She can still get her work done. She can focus, because that's the time where she needs to have more focus. And like you said, she does have that advantage. Not everyone has that advantage when she owns the company. So not everyone has that advantage, but when you do, and being able to work differently and think differently, act, react, eat, exercise differently, that becomes a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, even people who can't necessarily control that in their jobs can sometimes compensate outside of work,
Yeah.
like I could imagine, I know for myself, there's a certain time where I'm just like, you know what? It makes sense for me to cut out my nighttime meditation because it won't be productive anyway. I'm just going to sit there and fidget and my mind's going to go crazy, and I need to get more sleep instead.
Yes.
And it's a predictable 3 days.
So smart that you know that, because I'll be honest, even with myself, until all of this happened, like I knew, but I never charted. I never knew how to plan and set everything up for that. It would just kind of surprise me, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's that time, and oh, I'm going to be grumpy. But for 50 years, I could have been using that so much differently, and using those different phases to make sure that I was accomplishing things. Because I'm always like, why do I want to paint the house 1 week out of the month? and then not knowing when that week was coming, so I was caught off guard. Like I could have used that for that good week that was coming for something else. So that knowledge is powerful.
Yes. In a relationship, it's like, why do I always have those couple days where I want to break up with this person every single month? Like, I've learned to just ignore it. Yeah, I'm just like, why?
So it's funny you say that, because again, my children are adults. So my oldest is 30. He's having a baby in a couple of weeks.
Yay!
Hey, I'm telling everyone, like,
but your oldest is 30. You look like you're 30. Well, clearly your program works well.
Yes, my program, all heredity. But so I have those conversations with them. So I'm super close with my boys. So like, okay, this is what's going on right now. It's not about you. You need to now step up, do your part. It'll be over in a couple of days. She's not mad at you. Your wife's not upset with you. She doesn't hate you. She may say that she does. She really doesn't. It's like, it's just hormones that are reacting. And I think that talking to our sons, talking about to our partners about that, and being able to have those conversations can make that transition, that period, a lot smoother for women, for the entire family.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And also, if you know to expect it, you can plan in advance from a clear mental state. Oh, when I get that first thought, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's so much better. Like, you know what? I feel it coming on. I'm feeling that agitation for no reason. I know it's about to happen. I'm gonna just let my partner. He's like, you know what? Um, don't worry. Like, if you need to work late, work late.
Please work late. And that can go, that aligns with the way to meal prep too, because usually I say, meal prep 2 days a week. But if you know that that's coming, you want to make sure that you have some really good nutritious snacks on hand, something a little salty or sweet, whatever your jive is, but a good salty or a good sweet, because that can help you as well. And that can help alleviate some of the tension and the anxiety that you may be feeling, making sure that your nutrients are on point during that time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said having ones that are actually satisfying.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
you need to have that.
Totally. And like they exist, like healthy, satisfying treats. Like I fool people all the time making things that are healthy, and then you'll see kids digging into it not having any clue. So it's possible.
It is. I wanted some hot chocolate last night. I'm like, okay, I have a package, or I could figure out how to make it on my own. So I did dates, banana, or half a banana, some cacao, and what else did I put in there? Yeah. Oh, hemp milk, hemp seed milk. I'm
Hmm.
like, this was better than a package, and it was sweet, but it was good for me, and can't drink that every night. But it was just, and like you said, it's an alternative that can easily fool a kid.
Yeah, dates are so sweet.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't even tell it's not sugar. Like my son and I, he decided he wanted to have his own business and open up a bakery. um so over the summer he would go every couple days, he would go out and sell cookie dough and brownie dough bites. But what were they made of? There was no added sugar. It was dates and pumpkin seeds, because a lot of the kids gluten free or whatnot. So dates, pumpkin seeds instead of nuts. Some gluten-free oat flour. Oats are so sweet. Like a lot of people, when they try to go whole grain, they go for whole wheat, which for a lot of people the gluten is harsh for their bodies anyway. So gluten-free oat flour is such a sweet alternative, and especially for anything like cinnamon or like apple or pumpkin, it actually tastes better. Like
It
people.
does.
And like it's not just me, the health foodie, it's like the small sweet tooth kid in me who used to love pixie sticks enjoys this. Pixie
Great.
sticks, who thought that was a good idea? Yeah, are we dating ourselves? Do those still
We
exist?
are.
uh,
I've not seen one in a long time, but
mm. Well, if anything made me feel old, it was this post that people are sharing around, where it's like a guy pulls up to curbside pickup, gets like a bottle of wine, and he's like, "Oh, do you need me to take my ID out?" And they're like, "Oh no, I can see the one." And they're like, "The one?" He's like, "Yeah, I can see the one in your birth year."
oh, yes, we're dating.
Right? I was like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah, I have a one, 30
I have a
plus years
one,
of
and that's all you need now. If you have a one, you're old enough to drink.
wine. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. Ouch.
Exactly. So, but yeah, you're right. There's tons of alternatives and tons of ways of keeping yourself happy and satisfied.
Absolutely. And it's so much experimentation. Like I feel like most people's exposure is to have a healthier, quote unquote, healthier version of whatever they're used to eating.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you've had any success with that, but like personally, that doesn't work for me. And usually I don't like it hasn't worked for my clients so well either. It's like, in some cases maybe, but like if someone's craving a burger and it's like, "Oh, we're going to give you a veggie burger." It's like then no. But if someone's craving a burger but they also like, maybe like Thai food or something, like something
Yeah,
totally different is like,
yeah,
I think experimenting and finding recipes sometimes, like can make all the difference. Like before you start making the change, like if this is a lifelong thing, if you make it now or if you make it 2 months from now, for most people isn't going to be like a life-changing difference. But
Right.
meanwhile, in those 2 months, you can like experiment with recipes, have backups on hand, like not be 100% with everything. And it's like you can find these recipes, and especially get yourself a coach or a nutritionist or whatever who knows the tricks, because it can make it so much easier. So many people suffer through these things and then they're eating like, kale and whole grain toast for 3 meals a day. And you're
Yeah,
just like,
no.
oh.
You think there's so just eliminate the meat, like eat whatever you ate before, and that's all you're doing is pulling the meat out, but it becomes so overwhelming to people. I have one client, and that is honestly what I think the biggest benefit for her is she doesn't have to think about it, because she's wanted to be a vegan for so long, but it was I'm tired of eating a salad every day. I'm like, are millions. Every week, I come up with 5 days of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and it's all like different stuff. I match whatever she has in her refrigerator. It's all customized just for her, and that's made her stick to the plan, because now she's like, oh wait, I don't have to eat salad or a Buddha bowl every day. I I can eat really good, healthy foods, and there's really tons of great alternatives. And something you've mentioned twice tonight is about not being 100%. I think that's really, really important, because when I was sick, I went 100% and it made me sick in a different way. Like I lost so much weight. I was probably like 10 pounds smaller than I am now. I lost so much weight because I'm like, okay, if I eat anything, I'm going to get sick again. And what I should have done was balance. So I always tell folks, if you're 85% of the way doing what you need to do, then you are still going to live a very, very healthy lifestyle. And you have to balance, because you can be too healthy and strip things out of your body. And that makes it just as bad as being too unhealthy. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you brought that up because, there are many factors to consider in life.
Yeah.
And, I think you explained it exactly well. Like the person who, and I'm not saying everybody, some people are in a situation where they can be 100% on point, and I've seen people who are in the situation where that just works well for them and they can do that and be in a healthy place in their life overall. Whereas for some people, in order to do that 100% of the time, like think about how dogmatic they'd have to be and what they might be neglecting in order to do that. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can be completely unhealthy in a different way, whether they're losing sleep or they're completely like avoiding social contact because, well, if I go to that social event I won't be able to precisely measure the calories I'm having, or like I'm not sure how many grams of magnesium are in that brand that they use in that restaurant. So it's like, like it could be negative in a different way, and also it can be out of self-loathing instead of out of self-love. Like how many people do you know who start off and they're like, I'm here because I hate my body, I hate myself, and so I need to become someone else. And it's like, the most beautiful thing is to be able to get to the point where you're like, you know what, I'm doing this because I love myself and I love my body and I want to take good care of myself and my body.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's when it's rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's one thing I'd love to hear from you. I feel like, for anyone who's listening who is a divorced executive woman, you probably help your clients have a lot of the same epiphanies, a lot of maybe things that they didn't expect to gain by going to you, and they're surprised by, but you probably see it happen over and over, like some kind of trends or types of changes. And I was wondering if maybe you could bring up some of the more surprising ones that people might not expect from working with you.
Yeah. So again, most people automatically think about the weight, and okay, that's why I need a coach. I need someone to help me get to a certain weight. But sleep, increased sleep. They're sleeping more soundly when they don't need a nap. They don't feel like they need to wake up and go right back to sleep. The craving for caffeine, the craving for sugar, As I said, the one client, a decrease in the anxiety medicine that she's taking. All of that stuff are things that people automatically are seeing as they're working with me. And that becomes so rewarding. The more confidence, able to have those bolder conversations with people. Those are the things that people start to see. And then sometimes it's a lot of the unexplained stuff you didn't know that was going on. Oh, wait, I didn't realize every time I ate something, I did get a rapid heartbeat or something like that. All of that starts to stop once you start to get the nutrition under control and you have someone there who's helping you walk through it and to help you get to the other side. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It's like, people come because they're like, I'm fat. And then
Right,
all of a
right.
sudden, like the thought process just a month or two later is completely different.
Yeah, totally different. That you stop worrying about the weight and it just happens, and then you start thinking about all the other things. So I had mantras. I had one lady who couldn't come up with a mantra at all. She's like, I am, but she couldn't figure it out. She gave me like 3. That was her homework. And by the time we had a 5-minute conversation, she had like 20 because she didn't think about, I'm a really good employee. Like I really manage people well. I really respect other people. I try to do XYZ for people. I'm a good leader. Like all those things that we often don't think about ourselves, I try to help people pull those out as well. And then that also helps them with the trajectory of their nutrition path.
Such a wonderful quality to have, to be able to see that in people and bring it to their attention.
Yeah, it's that's the most rewarding part of doing this for me. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you really do help divorced women find their superpowers. You identify them. With some X-Men genetic testing and
Yeah, all that other stuff too.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure there are people who are listening who are like, I need to work with this woman. So can you give us an idea of, what do you like? Is it one-on-one? Do you have programs? Do you have a book they can buy? And how do people get in touch with you, learn more about you, sign up?
So I work strictly one-on-one right now. I'm in the process of developing a group sessions, but the group sessions will be employer based. So I'll go into businesses and work with groups there. So currently it's one-on-one. We work together for 6 months, and anyone can book a call with me, and we'll go through we'll have a 60-minute conversation, making sure that I'm the right fit for you, or if I need to maybe refer you off to someone, if that's the case too. I want to do whatever works best for you. So they can go to my website. It's Lee and Ollie, Leigh and Ollie, OLLIE.com, and they can book a call with me. Or you can also follow me on Facebook, Lee and Ollie, or Instagram, Lee and Ollie as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate having you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Eric, for having me in your home.
He's like, I'm in charge here.
I know, right? Once he is in charge.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Badass Moms podcast, brought to you by the Holistic Therapies Directory. Again, I'm Nicole Cruz, and you can find me at Super Busy Mommy Coach on Facebook and Instagram. Please shoot me messages. I love answering your questions and connecting. And if you're interested in signing up for the Fight It, Don't Fear It challenge, learning the habits to stay healthy and strong and manage any crisis with strength, go to superbusymommycoach.com and click on the programs tab.
Awesome.
Eric, you want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye, everybody.